I never really realized probably what MC was going through until then. I can't imagine how sick and tired he got of hearing, "Oh, RC's coming, you know, that Carmichael kid, he's coming, he's coming."
Man, let's get him in here. We've been chasing him for, my goodness. Carmichael, how long have I been chasing you to get you on this show, the most current rendition of SpeedFreaks? How long has that been?
Well, come on now. Don't get on me too hard. It's been a couple weeks. So, yep, I'm glad to be on. Listen, I didn't realize this, but the first one that I was ever on was the 4th episode. I think you told me, Stat. So, that's something. I didn't realize that. at the time. Hell, I probably wasn't paying attention, but you know what? Everyone, y'all have done a fantastic job. Hence, still on the interwebs, airways, whatever the hell we are recording on. But it's I think we're all fortunate, right?
Yeah, that's a fact, man. And you look at that 4th shot. I've got the picture, and again, it was. If you look back at that time, the first time you were on SpeedFreaks, I think we were just on one station in Los Angeles at the time, Ricky. It was you and Vince Neil.
There it is. Yeah, look at that, man. I mean, you talk about a blast from the past. Wow.
He's got enough hair for all the rest of us, doesn't he?
That was a good time. Yeah, and I remember that. That was at your studio in LA, and man, that's a special picture. So absolutely, yeah, man. So I'm just hanging out here in Florida. It's a beautiful day. I'm pumped to talk to y'all, and I really have no complaints, man. I've been fortunate. And here I am. What was that? So what year was that? Was that 2001? What was that?
That would have been, yes, that would have been July of 2001, maybe pushing August of 2001. And yeah, you had beaten McGrath. I believe that was the San Diego Supercross round of that year. But there were still so many doubters. You were at a time right there, that summer of 2001. Granted, you're in motocross season. You're absolute prime in motocross. But there was so much still going on in your head, if I could remember correctly. How did you power through that? Because media fandom is tough, and you learned that the hard way.
Well, certainly, and I definitely, I'm lucky that I didn't grow up in a world where the media is the way it is today. But yeah, I mean, it was tough. It took me 2 years. I won the championship, Supercross championship, Premier championship, and finally beat McGrath on my 3rd season of trying. Man, it was tough. But again, I wasn't trying to beat no scrub. You know, you're trying to beat the king of Supercross, the best guy that has ever raced Supercross, 7-time champ and 72 wins, and he is the leader by a long shot. So it was hard, but you know, I just had to keep going. I had to keep going, and I know that sounds silly, and everyone always talks about it. You can never give up, but really, that's what it was about. I think it goes to the roots of how I was raised as a kid. You know, you do it right or don't do it at all, and you never give up. You keep trying, you keep pushing forward, and that was really it. And I had some success, you know, throughout my whole career as an amateur, early on in my professional career, and really that's all I knew. So I think that's another reason of why I was able to continue to never give up outside of just the way that I was raised from my parents, but I'd always had that taste of success. So I felt like, you know, there was a good opportunity that I could eventually win, and it happened. Just didn't happen as quick as I would have liked it to. That's for sure.
Yeah, but the outdoor season certainly did. I mean, your statistics are just bonkers. When you finally beat, because again, media people, there's doubters, and oh yeah, he's got a Supercross title now, but he still hasn't beat Stephen Everts. When you finally beat Everts in Motocross to Nations, why didn't you just ride off into the sunset? Why didn't you finally say, that's it, I've beaten everybody, there's no more doubters left, I'm good?
Yeah, because that's a great question. So the main thing is I didn't feel like I was done from a personal standpoint and what I wanted to achieve as far as championship goes and race wins and things of that matter. I was still pretty young at the time when I was able to beat Everts at the Motocross of Nations. So that's one reason why I still had a lot to go. I beat him early, I would say midway through my professional career. So I still had a lot of work that needed to be done. And I really based it on not who I beat. My career, I'm more happy about what I was able to accomplish in the race wins and the championships. So to answer your question, just because I had beaten him and had beat everyone, some of the greatest that has ever thrown their leg over a motorcycle, I was more focused on championships and race wins rather than just people that I was racing, because at the end of the day, I was racing myself. And if I went out there and did the best that I could do, I had a great chance of winning races, which in turn wins championships.
People who raced against James Stewart,
Yeah.
they say the same thing, that he was racing himself and they didn't worry about him because eventually he was going to win or crash. Did you have that same idea about him? And did they have the same thing about you?
Well, certainly, I think for a lot of rookies, and I certainly don't want to speak for James on this behalf, but I think we both went through our rookie years of, it was checkers or wreckers, but as the older that he got, especially my final year in 2007, he had 2 years or 3 years in the premier class under his wings at that time. And so you could see like the rookie mistakes were starting to fade away. They weren't happening as often. So you couldn't rely on JS going down. He was just going to beat you. So you had to be better than him and hope for a little luck, especially in Supercross. Not necessarily so much for me in motocross, but he was just in a league of his own. Supercross, I think for sure. I know for sure I depended on him wrecking earlier on in his career, as a lot of people did earlier on in my career. 100%. That's just part of the sport. And that's the growing pains that young rookies go through. So, but you watch those riders continue to get better and improve on their mistakes that they have made in the past. I mean, I think of any athlete, any racer, anything in life, you want to learn from your mistakes. I just think you see it a little bit more in sports because you're competing so much that I think everyone thought that I would crash, and that's how they were going to beat me. And the same with James, and like I said, not just us two, but a lot of the rookies.
Yeah, you came along at a time, James, Chad Reed, McGrath. Yeah. There were some of the legendary names in Supercross, in motocross. You guys, and the champion was the guy who survived. When guys crashed and went out, then that gave room for somebody else. You guys, were there ever any friendships in any of that? Did you guys exchange Christmas cards or go to Thanksgiving?
You bring up a great point. And I was fortunate enough to race against the best guys as far as stats go, that have ever been in the sport. Jeremy McGrath, king of Supercross. He has the most Supercross championships. He has the most Supercross wins in the premier class, 250 back then, which is 450 now. James Stewart, he was the second winningest Supercross racer as far as race goes, not championships, for a long time until he was surpassed by Eli Tomac. Then you got Chad Reed. He was like number 3 or 4 on the all-time win list in Supercross. So I was fortunate enough to come up through a time to where I got to compete against the best that had ever done the discipline. So, so that was a great point what you brought up. But then were we friends? I think for myself and James, we had always had a mutual respect. Were we competitive? Hell yeah, we were competitive. But the mutual respect was there. Now you got to understand that, you know, James and I somewhat grew up together. I'm several years older than him, but when we were racing these amateur races in Florida, you know, I would see him every single weekend. So if I was in the 85 class and he was in the 50cc or 60cc class, I would watch him. You know, you just see this young kid coming up, and you knew, and he was the next generation after me, so you knew if he was continued to progress, that he would be at the top step someday. So our relationship was a lot different and much more personal in a good way, where, I mean, for Chad Reed, I feel like, I mean, that was one of my toughest competitors. There was no Christmas cards being sent. But at the end of the day, I do feel, I go back, we had a tremendous amount of mutual respect for each other. We raced each other hard. We wanted to kick each other's ass just as bad as the next guy did. And it was super competitive. As far as McGrath goes, I think it was a little different, because I don't know if it's fair to say that I raced him in his prime, just because he's a fair bit older than I was. He was still damn good. But in 2001, when I was able to beat him for the Supercross championship, I won a crap load of races that year. I think 13 out of the 16 or 14 out of the 16. I only lost 2 races that year, I believe. And it was just different. Like, you know, he was so much older, and the best of his years, I felt like, had surpassed him. Not in a negative way, but it was just, it was different. But at the end of the day, you know, we didn't hate each other. We respected each other. I mean, I looked up to the guy. He was one of my heroes. I mean, that's just to show you the age difference. So, and he is the king of Supercross. You know, it's like racing frickin' Dale Earnhardt Sr., you know, and when you're Jeff Gordon, it's like, how do you, it's a weird scenario when you're racing someone you looked up to, right?
When you reach the status, the legendary status, and I'm maybe taking some excess at that, but when you reach the legendary status that you've reached in your sport, the challenge becomes the most important thing. Kyle Larson wants to race the double.
Yeah.
You wanted to race in NASCAR.
Yeah.
What are the challenges that you had in front of you that said, turned your red mist and got you going and said, I got to do that?
Well, I mean, having a lot of success in the amateur ranks, and then you go from amateur to professional, you're like, okay, well, I've been this dominant kid in the amateur ranks. All you really know is winning. So at least for me speaking, and how my approach was, you know, I still wanted to win at the professional level. Okay. And then like, my goals are, man, if I could win a professional title, that would be awesome. So then I was able to do that in my rookie season in 1997, the outdoor championship. You know, so then the next year you go into 1998 and you're like, okay, well, I didn't win the Supercross championship in 1997, so I got to do it now. And then that's what happens, is like every single year you're like, okay, well, if I hit this benchmark, I want to hit this benchmark next year. You keep setting goals. And what I think is important is you set realistic goals, ones that, you know, hey, they're challenging, but it's certainly capable. I'm capable of accomplishing that. I'd never set unrealistic goals. So
is that what NASCAR was for you? I got to do this for myself, and that was the goal, and I got to be successful at that level as well.
You know, I don't know that I ever wanted to race NASCAR. I just, I got an opportunity to drive a late model. And then that's really, once I drove that late model for the first time, that's when I'm like, man, I would love to try this, you know, at a racing level, at a professional level, once my chapter in my professional career of motocross and supercross is done, and I have an opportunity to try this and it be the right way. I'd love to do it. So when I was a little kid, I never really even thought about doing the NASCAR thing until, like I said, I got that opportunity with Casey Kane, asked me if I wanted to do a late model deal or go drive a late model car. I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. And so that's when that idea really started to come into my mind, coming to play, like, man, I'd like to try this sometime. And but before that, straight up, it was never even a blip on my radar.
Ricky Carmichael joining Speed Freaks. You mentioned just a little bit earlier that you raced against some of the greatest riders of all time as far as stats go. Mm-hmm. That opened up my mind to, oh, well, who do you think is one of the greatest riders ever? Let's put the stats aside and let's include all these other years that have happened.
Yeah. So many great riders. Obviously, you go with guys that have won a lot of championships. There's so many guys that win a lot of races, and then there's guys that don't reach their true potential, guys that do reach their true potential. So for me, when I look into things, I wonder, like, okay, did they accomplish what they were supposed to? Did they not accomplish what they were supposed to? But there's so many great riders, I think, in all disciplines of racers, whether it's IndyCar, whether it's NASCAR, whether it's F1, whether it's MotoGP, whether it's Supercross, Motocross, you name it. I think, in each discipline, there are fantastic racers, and some guys are better at certain disciplines than others. Some guys are better on certain tracks than others. I think so. I mean, obviously you have the anomalies of guys that are multi-time champions, like 3, 4-time, 5-time champions in certain discipline. You think of Jimmy Johnson, you think of Schumacher, you think of McGrath, you think of Everts, guys like that. I mean, Dungey, Villapoto, guys that have won, like I said, 3, 4, 5 championships in their respected discipline. That's pretty dang sporty.
Ricky Carmichael here in the Freak Nation, and the history that we have with Carmichael is freaking-tastic. We don't need to get out in the weeds in that. But Carmichael, I was going through some old video that I had when I was anchoring sports in Los Angeles, and I believe when were you 19? What year was that? 96?
Was 1999, I believe. Yep.
All right. Well, I was doing a feature on McGrath, and look at this little redhead that's inserted in this piece with Jeff Emig. This is just a portion of it.
And as a rider, I mean, you try to take somebody away from their game, just like he's going to try to do to me and Ricky.
And the Ricky he's talking about, well, it's 19-year-old phenom Ricky Carmichael making his 250 Supercross debut tomorrow night.
You got two old guys pushing 30, man. Right. You've got a 19-year-old coming in here. What are you going to do to get these guys off their bikes?
Well, if they're in front of me, somebody's going to have Jeff and Jeremy's bike in their lap. Just kidding. I don't know. It's just, it's like everybody's been thinking, this is Jeremy's hometown, and he's going to be tough.
Yeah, Ricky's being kind of modest right now. He knows he's better than that. And, I've seen him ride, and everyone here's seen him ride, and he's a tough competitor. I hope Saturday night I can smoke him. But there's always that chance that he's going to smoke me.
Dude, you got to send that clip to me. You got to text that to me if you will give me the rights to that. That would be awesome. So I always felt bad for McGrath after the fact when I kind of went through this when Pastrana was coming up, because he was like the guy who was like, oh, dude, this is a guy that's going to knock you off. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like let the man just like get a couple races under his belt and let's see what he can do, and we'll see what happens. And I never really realized probably what MC was going through until then. I can't imagine how sick and tired he got of hearing, oh, RC's coming, that Carmichael kid, he's coming. And look, dude, it took me, I didn't do it till my 3rd year of trying. So he got in my opinion, he got the last laugh, especially in 99 and then 2000 for sure. So that was some good times. Now listen, my old teammate at the time, Jeff Emig, and he's a dear friend of mine still to this day. He used to haze me so bad. He did it when I was in the 125 class in 1997, and then that was my rookie debut in the premier class, and he used to haze me then. And so I had to pop off a little bit just to Jeff, but I had so much respect for those guys. And And I will tell you, I went into the 99 season. I didn't really have too many expectations, of course. Hell yeah, I wanted to win. But at the same time, I needed to learn, because I knew for me how hard Supercross was compared to the Motocross championship. So I knew it was going to be tough.
You're an important voice in, excuse me, Kenny, you're an important voice in broadcasting, and I hear broadcasting coming out of you now instead of competition. But are the same competitive juices flowing that when you're getting into broadcasting, somebody you want to knock off, somebody who wants to knock off you, hazing? What is it, all the same at a different level of sport?
Yeah, so I don't want to knock off anyone. I think the older you get, I don't like it's completely different than racing, but the mindset of performing at the highest level of your capabilities. That's how I approach being an analyst for NBC and Supercross and Super Motocross, the playoffs. I love going to the event. I think it's the best seat in the house. I love sharing my experiences and telling the how and the why, and also trying to capture new viewers. Sometimes when I do that, it's at a base level. Some of the hardcore fans don't like it, but we already got the hardcore fans. They're going to be tuning in. So I approach my broadcast career very similar to my motocross career, other than just go out there and you go in that booth and you do the best that you can. You try to capture the audience. You try to tell them and explain to them and parallel them to not everyone rides a motorcycle, but most people can ride a bicycle, or most people drive a car. Like, parallel things so you can kind of understand what those riders are going through on given conditions. I use an example like we used last week. We were on Big NBC and we were in Detroit, and you had Jason Anderson. He's a veteran of the sport in the premier class, and then you have the young rider of Jett Lawrence. Two completely different styles. You have one guy, Jason Anderson, he rides on that ragged edge. Is he precise? Yes. But is he picture perfect? No. Does he still get the job done? Absolutely. But then you watch Jett Lawrence, who doesn't even look like he's trying. It's like poetry in motion. And so you can be the first time viewer of Super Motocross, and I can parallel those two with you, and it gives you something to see. It's so easy to see that. So those are the challenges that I like, that I look at. And yeah, absolutely. There are times when I'm done with the broadcast and I'm pissed at myself because I know I didn't perform to my level.
Ricky Carmichael, a lot of folks considering the GOAT. I don't think you'll get too much of an argument here on two wheels. Ricky Carmichael here in the Freak Nation. And Carmichael, I'm going to follow up on what Statman was talking about. Was when Dale Earnhardt Jr. left the series, Statman made a comment how Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be bigger for NASCAR than he was in a race car.
Out of the car.
Out of the car. Granted, your championships, your race wins far exceed what Dale Earnhardt ever achieved in a race car.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel the same? It's not a responsibility, but maybe the same comment can be made about Ricky Carmichael, the importance of you off that bike and what it means to Supercross, motocross, moving forward, and again, helping blow up the popularity of Supercross and motocross?
That would be extremely humbling if I could make that impact off the track like I did, the impact that I made on the track with my accolades and what I was able to accomplish. In certain aspects, I'd like to think so. I really would, but I don't know. I guess that's for the people that matter to decide. I can only hope and aspire to do that for sure. I love the sport. It's given me incredible opportunity to be in the booth, not behind handlebars. Has certainly been a big challenge, but it's a challenge that I accept, and it's something that I enjoy. Being a brand ambassador for these fabulous companies that have supported me along my professional career, and now being a brand ambassador and part of the design and development of the new Triumph motorcycle, that's been something special. So in my own way, giving back and making an impact, to your point, from something like off the motorcycle, definitely.
A couple of other things, Ricky. Again, Ricky Carmichael here in the Freak Nation. you were talking about Jett, and I'm always curious to get other people's opinions. Let me back up just a second. We have current Supercross riders that come in to the Freak Nation all the time, and we give them, I typically give them 3 riders. I'll give them McGrath, Carmichael, and Stewart about who in their eyes is the greatest Supercross rider or motocross rider ever. And I say, take away the wins and the championships, they gravitate towards James. And you even said in some of your comment about James, how he rode and what he could have done. When you look at what James did or what could have done, what McGrath did, what you did in motocross, Supercross, why do you think these kids gravitate towards James so much now? Is it just their memory isn't as deep as ours?
Possibly. I mean, but make no mistake about it. I mean, he was a polarizing figure, extremely fast. You know, he was fun to watch. There was some uncertainty there of, what was going to happen. Is it, the checkers or wreckers mentality, especially early on in his career. But he changed a lot of things as far as how the speed, the intensity of driving through certain rhythm lanes on a track, staying low. You talk about the Bubba Scrub. Like he did a lot of things for the sport in that regard, rather than, winning several championships. So I feel like maybe that's one reason why the younger generation gravitates towards him. I mean, and two, you are exactly right about the age thing. I'll give you a quick story. I was talking to Chase Sexton this past weekend in Detroit. I was in the rig, and he was getting some work done by the chiropractor, and I was getting a little adjustment as well when he was done. And when he was talking, and he's like, "When was your first year?" And I'm telling him like when my first year of racing was, and I'm like 97. I'm like, "Dude, when were you born?" And he's like, I was born in 2000 or something like that. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, you gotta figure, I mean, I only had 4 or 5 more races left. So, I mean, I wouldn't even know what his recollection of me racing, because let's see, that'll put him about 5 or 6. I mean, it's going to be hard to remember stuff. I can't remember certain races when I was 5 or 6 years old, going and watching my heroes of, Rick Johnson, O'Mara, Jeff Ward, those guys. Like I can barely remember Damon Bradshaw racing in those guys, So like that generation, the people who are gravitating towards him, they can't remember myself, but I think we all had a different impact on the sport for sure.
Jett Lawrence,
in a positive
Jett Lawrence is getting the Boo Birds, and we remember Boo Birds with you when you started to beat up on when you started to beat up on RC.
Yeah.
And when he switched manufacturers.
Yeah.
That was a whole
that was the biggest thing when I switched manufacturers. It was frustrating, and I can feel for Jett because I've lived this, and I think at the end of the day, what it is, what is a mind bender, if you will, is I feel like you don't change as a person. I can tell you that I didn't when I left Kawasaki and went to factory Honda, and then the people loved it when I was able to dethrone the king of Supercross. They were cheering for me. I couldn't get a boo if I tried in 2001, and they just loved it. And it was great racing. Well, then I shift from Cowie to factory Honda. Now I'm the Supercross champ, defending champ. And then the boos just are coming out. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why all of a sudden are these people booing me? They had their reasons, but the hardest thing for me outside of racing is like, oh, I feel like I'm the same person. So, and I felt like they were judging my character, and that was the most hurtful thing to me, and the thing that was kind of a mind bender. So maybe for Jett, maybe he's thinking the same thing. I don't know. Maybe he's not. But one of the things of being a champion in any sport and anything in life, you got to be able to manage the outside noise for sure, especially if you're an athlete. Managing that outside noise is a huge element.
Would he listen to you, do you believe, if you had a conversation with him about this?
Certainly. I have a decent relationship with him. his brother Hunter, his father, just because of my relationship with Johnny O'Mara. Johnny O'Mara is their riding coach, and he's part of their inner circle, which I think is fabulous. So because of that relationship, I have some inside access to the Lawrence brothers, and I don't, but I don't, I don't prod and poke for stuff unless I have to, and they haven't reached out on the matter. I figured if they want to, I'm here to help, man. I like to help anybody, not just them.
Where is Jett Lawrence on the Ricky Carmichael level of riding and what he could do?
Oh, riding! Oh, he's 10 times more talented than I was, without a doubt. And it's no mistake about it. I wasn't.
Ricky, no, I'm not going to let you get away with that. I mean,
Dude, he's got weight. No, when I say more talent, he could get on a motorcycle and do things way easier than I could, whether it's doing a wheelie. I mean, he's talented. I mean, you get him on a bicycle and he's doing all kinds of crazy things. You're like, holy crap, I can't do a wheelie on a bicycle without rolling over backwards. So as far as just natural born talent, that's where he is. He's just so incredible. So from a bike skills standpoint, he'll blow me away. Now, as far as the competitive scale and the grit and determination, I would challenge him in that area. I sure would. But as far as bike skill goes, dude, he's got me beat hands down. But what's incredible is that someone who has as much talent as he does, and I've seen this, I've witnessed it, I've heard it, I've talked to him about it, he's still scared to lose at times. And when you have someone who is scared to lose, that's a dangerous combination.
Listen to that, Freak Nation.
Will he work as hard as you did?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he's got like that motivation, man, and he has a group around him. I mean, one thing that I feel has helped him is his journey to get to where he's at. Okay. His family sold everything in Australia to get their family to Europe. They raced in Europe for many years, and the end goal was to be over here in the States. This is the premier off-road supercross motocross racing series is here in the States. So that was the end goal. So they had no other choice after selling everything they had to get here. So in their mind, yes, has it made his life easier? Of course it is. But I think that they don't want to experience what they've experienced. And not being able to eat or not being able to buy certain things because you don't have the money, that hits hard. And I still feel like he races with that in the back of his mind.
I was just going to ask you, is that part of that fear of losing?
Hell yeah, it is. Absolutely. And I think that's going to really, really help him as long as he can stay grounded. And I've said this from day one, is if he can manage that outside noise and manage the off track BS that comes along with being someone who is for someone who is so popular and is so electrifying as he is, he'll have a very, very promising career, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch.
On a personal note, Carmichael, it's been fun. It's been absolutely fun for me to watch you progress as a broadcaster. I remember your first broadcast. Yeah. You were knee deep in it, but now you are a freaking pro, my friend. It's been awesome to watch you develop.
I appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, I would hope, I've worked at it a lot. I've had some great mentors along the way, some great people in the upper management role that have given me advice that made sense. My bosses have helped me out a lot. Some colleagues have helped me out a lot. Leigh Diffey has been instrumental, has played an instrumental role in my progression in the booth and just knowing things as well. And like you said, too, getting laps. I would hope that I would have been able to improve with as much time as I've had now, but for sure it wouldn't have gone as well as it has if I hadn't had the help that I've had as well. So I'm really enjoying it. The travel's a lot for sure. I remember when I retired from racing, I'm like, there's no shot I'm traveling this much anymore. But as you get older, it's like, I enjoy it. I embrace it. And it's fun. It's not a bad deal. And again, it's so fun for me to share my experiences and knowledge with the people viewing.
Hey, by the way, we showed the video and it got crazy hits. The video of you getting the tube stuck down your throat or up your nose, whatever the hell. Dude, that was balls to show that across the planet.
Well, I didn't want him it was kind of like a joke. My wife was pissed, like, you got to pull that down. And, like everyone like she works with is asking like, how's Ricky, blah, blah, blah. I was just trying to have fun with it. And I certainly didn't do it. I didn't need a sympathy card. You guys know me well enough. I don't need no sympathy. I don't need any sympathy. But it's like, yep, this is what the hell's going on, because I had never had a GI tube go down, try to get down in your stomach before. I'm like, how do they do this to a human without sedating them somehow? That was the second time. The video I posted was the second time that it failed. So after the second time, I'm like, dude, I said, we ain't going for a third time. I said, y'all just go ahead and put me out or do whatever you got to do. So yeah, that sucked to be able to miss the opening round at Anaheim. Had a little small bowel obstruction, kind of came out of nowhere. So still hopefully everything will be all right. And yeah, man, that's it. It's going to be exciting. We're in your hometown this weekend. It's going to be epic.
Let me ask you before you get out of here. A lot of times kids don't, they rebel against what dad did. Motorsport put them where they are. Do they have any interest in motorsport as they're starting to get older now and maybe looking at it?
Talking about your twins.
So so I have a son and a daughter. They're twins. They are sophomores in high school. And luckily, I've been able to keep them off of motorcycles. I wouldn't want them to experience what I've experienced, especially at a young age. So now I think that I've gotten past that hump. But as far as motorsports go, I would love to see my son. I would hope that he's going to go the engineering route. I feel like he's great at math and things like that. So if he could, I've told him, I'm like, hey, if this is an avenue where you would love to be, with my connections and people that I know, in all of motorsports, maybe that could be an avenue. He already knows the lingo in motocross and supercross, obviously. He watches NASCAR with me and Indy with me as well, and F1 once in a while. So he knows enough about it and how engineering could help. So I don't know, but with kids, they change their mind all the time. Now, my daughter, I could tell you right now, she's my wild child. And if I said, you know what, let's go down and we're going to get you a motorcycle. I know you've always wanted to ride your whole life. Let's go do it. We'd be down there this afternoon. So I tread lightly on that, my man.
Well,
show that to your daughter.
That's right, dude. Oh my gosh. That is so good. That is so good. I love it.
Look at her clothes.
Dude, how's your I call it your costumes, like your work shirt. Dude, that's so good. Oh, man. The hair dye, you name it, dude. Like the highlights. Yes. That was unbelievable.
Listen, Crasher and I have a 10-year-old together, and I never thought I'd be calling Ricky Carmichael for father advice of a daughter.
Dude. You know what, for all the dads out there or parents that have daughters, this is a tough time for them. I feel like with the social media world and all that stuff, it's different. I wish that we didn't have cell phones. Not saying that our parents had it easy by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a hell of a lot more distractions there are today, I feel like, for parenting back in our day. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I remember having we had an extended the phone line at my parents' house where you could like go from the kitchen and sit on the couch, like a 30-foot long phone line. You know what I'm saying?
The cord.
Like,
yes.
What are you gonna say? You can't get away with anything. What are you gonna say? Something like, hey man, I'm gonna tell my mom like we're going over here, but we're really gonna meet over here, when she's like sitting right there. You can't get in trouble, right? Nowadays, they can be texting their friends. I'm sitting right next to them, and it's just like, you don't know what the hell's going on. It's nuts.
Oh yeah, I would take the cord around down the hallway and around into the bathroom and sit on the toilet and shut the door. Oh no, they're not going to hear me.
Oh yeah, and it's just like you give it away. You give it away. Oh, why do you got to go in the bathroom to talk? What's up with that? So automatically you're busted, right?
Freak Nation, we could go 3-4 hours and still have about 5 or 6 hours left. Again, Ricky Carmichael, our opinion, the GOAT when it comes to two wheels, everything on two wheels. Ricky Carmichael here in the Freak Nation. Buddy, it's never too often. I mean, if you rolled in here every weekend, man, it wouldn't be enough.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you guys for having me on. It's been an incredible ride with you guys for sure. Obviously not on as much as that I would like to be. We need to make a habit of getting together a lot more often, but I'm proud of you guys and how well you've done, how successful you've been with the Freak Nation and the fan base that you've created. You guys do a great job and your results speak for themselves, and it's an honor to be on the show today.
At Lucas Oil, we take pride in creating problem-solving products to make your car care easier. We protect your vehicle and make it run longer so you can focus on the things that matter most. Lucas Oil, it works.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers. The weekend racing is over, or is it? Not on MAV TV. Monday is All-American Racing Night on the network which never leaves the track. Sit back and enjoy grassroots red, white, and blue racing from America's most iconic tracks. Whether it's the precise lines of pavement ovals or the door-banging action of the dirt, MAV TV's Monday night lineup will bring you all the action from this country's legendary four-wheel battlegrounds. Monday night is All-American Racing, only on MAV TV, Motorsports Network.
The NASCAR Cup Series returns to Worldwide Technology Raceway on June 1st and 2nd, 2024. The time to get your tickets is now. Let's go! Yeah! For only $10 down, you can lock in your seats for an incredible weekend of family fun, featuring the Enjoy Illinois 300 and the Confluence Music Festival. It all adds up to one amazing party. Go to WWTRaceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.